Thank you, Howard, and welcome to Jazz on My Mind. I'm Richard Blackwell. This is the show that is dedicated to jazz lovers around the world. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m., we bring you jazz events from Los Angeles to New York, along with performances and jazz chats of the legends, current and upcoming jazz stars. And tonight, we've got a great show lined up for you. With us this evening, well, we've got radio personality Steve Leech from WVUD 91.3 out of Wilmington, Delaware. Also tonight with us is the heart and soul of jazz, Alfie Moss and Dexter Koonce. We're going to be showing one of their video performances also a little bit later. Plus, we have a video clip performance of saxophone great Vince Lardear. That's all coming up a little bit later in the show. But right now, I want to welcome our very special guest, jazz vocalist and advocate Linda Selena Smalls, to Jazz on My Mind. Linda, welcome to the show.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
And hold that mic up there.
Thank you for having me.
Don't be shy.
Thank you for having me.
Linda, first of all, I want to welcome you to the show. You and I met just recently. And
Right.
when I found out how much of a star or how much you've contributed to jazz, I'm like, I got to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So I'm so glad that you made it tonight.
Thank you. I'm glad that you had me here.
Now, Linda, I introduced you as a vocalist, a jazz vocalist and a jazz advocate. You're doing a lot for jazz. You have done a lot for jazz. Let's talk about some of the things that you're doing currently. What are you doing currently? And hold that mic up a little closer.
Okay. Most recently, I've been performing at a small jazz venue, new jazz venue, and we're really trying to just introduce it to the city. It's called the Flying Carpet.
Okay.
And it's in Philadelphia on 19th and Popular. It's a little coffee house, but the owner decided he wanted to give back to the community. So
Now, raise that mic just a little bit.
he is hiring local talent, which is, wonderful, because as artists, and when you're in a city like Philadelphia, where you get major people coming in, New York and D.C., and you're getting all these great artists, but the local talent is starving, and he's given us a place to perform, so I really appreciate that.
Wow.
And then I have great affinity for children.
Okay.
One of my goals is to have 150 voice children's choir.
Oh.
And I'm getting a chance to realize that in Philadelphia, I'm working with the Montessori Genesis School. They are pre-K to third grade, and they are having their 35th anniversary.
Beautiful.
And this December, they're having a Christmas concert. So myself and Robert Kenyatta, famed drummer, and myself will be working with the children of Montessori Genesis in their first performance of Little Drummer Boys. So that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. It's got to warm your heart to be able to do something with the youth like that.
I love kids. Kids are pure, None of this diva stuff, You want to sing, Johnny? Yeah, I want to sing,
Yeah.
And they got the heart, so they deliver, So they sound like angels, so I love it.
That's beautiful.
I love it.
Now, that's important, I think, because you started singing at a young age.
Yeah.
You started in the church.
Yeah.
Give
My
us a
dad
little
is...
idea. What was the beginning about? What was the beginning like for you?
I guess I was that kid, that ADD kid, always moving around, wanting something to do. And my dad is a minister. And we had a fairly large church, and we had a fairly large youth choir. And I was itching, at 5. I wanted to be the star of the children's choir. And everybody's like, just calm down, Learn how to hold the note,
You got to have inspiration.
So I hung in there. Both my parents sing, and my mom plays the piano. My brother plays the Hammond B3. So I was just kind of waiting my time.
Yeah.
And then I had a lot of inspiration. Our church turned out so many great musicians. We had Cynthia Biggs, who's one of the writers with Philadelphia International Records. So she was my babysitter.
Everybody knows about Philadelphia International.
Yeah. So we had a lot of good people come through. So I had a lot of great mentors. And I think I finally stepped up to the plate, to decide to sing in public as a solo. About 8 years old, and then that was it.
The rest is history.
That was it. I was hooked.
Now, singing in the church, you got you started. What evolved for you from there? Once you were discovered, quote unquote.
What's also?
And let's talk about how were you discovered?
Well, I would say that I sang through high school, and coming from Philadelphia, we had a really great music program in the public school system. So I went to school with people like Billy Jolly and
you performed with Billy.
Billy was in my first band. Right. We were like 14 and 12, and we used to play for fried chicken. We had good gigs. Children's Hospital, but they got us cheap, and we did that. I went to Settlement Music School. And then just as a teenager, I started sneaking out and going to these like little jazz venues and open mics. And there was a place in Philly called the Hollywood Palace. And they were there for maybe 40 years. And I used to sneak in and sing R&B. And I met a man named Ernie, who played the guitar. And he told me when I got off the stage, he said, "Don't ever do that again."
No way. Are
you
serious?
You're a jazz singer. Drop the R&B. And that was back in the 80s.
So that's what led you to jazz.
That's what put me there. And I kind of stuck there.
Well, that was constructive criticism. Because he saw where your niche was.
Exactly. And really took me under his wing, and I hung out with those guys, and Vic Tate Sr. and a whole lot of guys, Bootsy Barnes and that whole crew, and they just let me go along, and I just go along, and can I sing on your gig? Can I get one? And they let me get one, and they, just gave me a lot of encouragement. And I got a big voice, so I love horn players. So it was a natural niche right there.
Well, I also know that your singing, you used it for a very good cause, and that was to entertain the troops. I know that you traveled extensively, and you entertained the servicemen.
I was a member of the Kizzy Darnell Trio. And we did DOT tours, so we would go from post to post and sing for the troops, and that was...
How was that?
Oh my God.
Made you feel like a true patriot, huh?
It really did. It really did. It was a great experience, great way to travel, great way to see the world, and I don't know that I'd do it again at this age, but I was lucky to have done that in my 20s.
Quite a lot of traveling.
And we also picked up a lot of different musicians along the way. You go in here and this person would come on, and that was really cool. So you got a chance to network and meet a lot of people.
I know that had to be nice for you.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
What are you doing? You're singing now. You also did some writing. I know you worked with my good friend Dexter Koonce.
Dexter was the person who got me to start writing. He said, "Linda, you can write."
Talk about that a little bit. Talk about that.
Well, I used to, we were just good friends, me, his wife, and the kids. I used to babysit the kids, and I used to get these ideas, and I called him like, "Dexter," and he's like, "What, Linda? It's like 12 o'clock. I got this thing in my head." He said, "Sing it into a tape recorder and call me tomorrow." I sang it into a tape recorder, but by the time I got down to Broad Street, I had the melody, I had the bridge, I had 4 choruses. He's like, "You got to pick one," and about 12 verses. And I'm like, "Oh, well, you really helped me." He said, "No, you did this by yourself. I laid it out for you. But you did this by yourself, and you did it well, and you finished it. So you need to do that." And I guess the high point is when we were putting it down in the studio, Phyllis Hyman was at Philly International that day, and he called me and he said, "I want to tell you something." That Phyllis was walking down the hall, and she said, "I want that song." So I was just touched. I'm like, wow, I did something, but it was a ballad. He said, "You're a balladeer," so that's kind of what I like to do.
That's your niche.
That's my niche.
Just mentioning Phyllis Hyman's name, it sends chills through my spine. What a great talent and a marvelous person she was. May she rest in peace. Now, I also know that you did some work on the Broadway production of Pearlie with
Billy Jolly.
And you did some work with CeCe Winans and
Don't Get Us Started. I was working at the Walnut Street Theater as the phone charge operator. And I ran phone charge, and we had the play, and we hosted the play, and I worked in house management. And from time to time, you know, they would come through and it's like, look, we hear you out here singing, girl. You want to sing in the pit. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So it was cool. It was like my first major theater thing. And nobody saw me. I was in the pit, but I sang my heart out.
And Vanessa Bell Armstrong.
Oh, that was just such a wonderful
What a tremendous
class.
talent, too.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you've done a lot, and you're doing some things like you mentioned locally. And I want to give you an invitation to come back to Jazz on My Mind with your group and perform so that the audience can see your talent and see how wonderful of a vocalist you are.
Thank you so much.
Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Give me an in now. I'm going to open my mouth.
Well, you're in. And it was a pleasure to meet you, and I thank you so much for coming on the show as well.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Linda Selena on Jazz on My Mind. Let's give her a big round of applause for being on the show tonight. Linda Selena Smalls on Jazz on My Mind. Stay tuned, all of you jazz heads. Coming up next, we're going to have a jazz chat with the heart and soul of jazz, Alfie Moss and Dexter Koonce. Plus, I got a special video clip of one of their performances that they did here in Wilmington a couple of years ago. But first, it's time to get ready for this week's jazz event on the West Coast for This Week in Jazz. And let's start it off on the West Coast with jazz happening at the World Stage. And for more exciting jazz performances, you got to check out the World Stage. Located at 4344 Degnan Street in Los Angeles. Now, for events and showtimes, you can call the World Stage at area code 323-293-2451. That's the fabulous World Stage in Los Angeles. That address again is 4344 Degnan, and you can reach them at 323-293-2451. And be sure to tell my good friend Matt Gibson we said hello. Also for jazz, there's a hot new spot in Los Angeles, and it's called Nola's. There's always some great jazz happening with a little touch of New Orleans. That's called Nola's. And their address is 734 East 3rd in LA. For more jazz info, you can call Nola's at 213-680-3003. And also tomorrow night at Catalina Bar and Grill, it's some great jazz with the great James Carter and his organ trio. On Monday, October 17th, the Catalina celebrates its 25th anniversary with music directed by Mr. John Beasley. Now, the Catalina Bar and Grill is located at 6725 Sunset Boulevard in LA. For jazz events, you can call the Catalina Bar and Grill at area code 323, and the number is 466-2210. And for all of our viewers in the Midwest, Chicago has a tremendous jazz club, and it's called Close Up 2. There's always some great smooth jazz happening there. For more events and jazz information, call Close Up 2. Their number is area code 312-385-1111. That number again, 213-385-1111. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, for all the great jazz events from coast to coast, just log on to our website, jazzonmymind.com. Now, everyone, let's welcome I call them the heart and soul of jazz. One of the most jazz, well, should I say, one of the most talented jazz couples ever. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Alfie Moss and Dexter Koonce to Jazz on My Mind. Alfie and Dexter, welcome. It's on. Come on over here. Good to see you, Alfie. Dexter, great to see you. Now, I introduced you two as the heart and soul of jazz. And I truly mean that in my heart, because when I first met you two, when Jazz on My Mind came here in 2009, you were the first group couple that I had a chance to meet and watch perform, and our relationship has just flourished ever since that moment. It's a blessing meeting you guys. I thank God for that as well. So how you guys been? What's been going on? How would that mic
We're
up?
doing great.
You guys are doing good?
Yes, we are coming into the end of our Wednesday Jazz Jam right here at Paradise Palms with Chef Wendell from Jamaica. And we've been here 7 months, and since you're back, we're going to take a little break.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the people hate that. They love what you guys were doing on Wednesday nights.
Oh, but not to worry. Dick Radden and Linda Sobieski and Roberta Washington are going to do the trio thing here. Zakia is doing the poetry. We got the vendors up and running. We have an artist who's doing K.O. Sims.
Yeah.
He's doing sketches for anyone. Zakia is selling her dolls. So we had a wonderful time. And we'll be back, but we're just going to take a short break.
Now, musically, what do you guys, Dexter, what is Alfie Moss and Dexter Koonce doing musically? What do you guys doing?
I think we're taking a second look at what we trying to get in. We should be doing, right, concerts. We got to stop working locally, you know, and if we do work locally, it would most likely be to promote a new restaurant or a restaurant having problems. That's basically what we've been doing anyway. You know, but we have to slow down. You know, working there. You know, you can wear yourself out.
Yeah.
And people can get tired of you too.
Well, you guys are in demand. I mean, in this whole East Coast tri-state area, everyone knows of Alfie Moss. In fact, when I came here in June 2009, someone said, "You like jazz? You got to go see Alfie Moss and Dexter Koonce." You guys were like the first name out of their mouth.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's a beautiful thing. And ever since we met each other, you guys have been doing a lot, and we try to cover it. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see a lot of their stuff on jazzonmymind.com, a lot of their performances. You guys are outstanding.
We have a website, Alfie Moss Dexter Koonce Project. You can see where we're performing in the area. Coming up, it will be It's all about Boise Lowry Clifford Brown's mentor and Dexter's uncle. And we're going to be performing at that event October 29th at the Delaware School of Music on 41st Street and Washington Avenue.
And we're going to talk more about that in just a little bit. But I want to talk about your music. I know you, Alfie, you've been singing for a long time. And like you indicated, Dexter is the nephew of the great Boise Lowry. And you guys together make some of the best music I've ever heard. How long have you two been performing together?
Look, don't ask me that. No.
well, about 30 years ago, I was with the Melton Brothers, and after that, I started playing with Dexter. So about 30 years.
It's like both of us, really. She was doing the Melton Brothers and her own band, and then eventually it was Alfie Moss and Dexter Koonce. Because things, you know, we kind of settled into working together often. So, you know, at first I was just promoting Alfie, just working with Alfie by herself. I would come play in the band sometimes, but sometimes I'd play with other people. So it was just Alfie Moss, and I'd just play. But, you know, when we started kind of consolidating, so to speak, then it got to be, you know, Alfie Moss and Dexter Koonce. Project was a concept of using different personnel in the band.
In the band.
Yeah. But I might use just three pieces. I might do sequence. It might be just Alfie and myself, or it might be the whole band, or it might be I might use 5 guitar players, and a drummer, But there were projects based on, just being able to do something interesting with vocals and jazz.
Well, watching your group perform, you seem to have some of the best musicians ever in your band. And I mean, that's a compliment to you two. Alfie is an outstanding vocalist, and Dexter, you are a tremendous musician. You play guitar, you play keyboard, you play drums.
You builds drums.
Yeah, this guy does it all.
It's a lot of guys that play a lot of instruments.
No, but no one does them as well as you do.
Well, the thing about, I think I've had opportunities that a lot of people haven't had. First of all, I had a great uncle.
Boise Lounge.
And my mother started me out as a kid, so I was like a child prodigy. I mean, I started way off. I mean, you know, like if anybody cheated in the race, it was me. You know what I'm saying? You know how you say, ready, set, go. Well, I was headed,
you were there.
Ready, I'm going.
Right,
you know
right.
So, I mean, to me, it was like, it's almost like cheating. You know, I don't think of myself as a great musician either. I think of myself as a human being that wants to communicate and inspire other people. But I like to be inspired myself. There are musicians that come in the band that are just inspiring. They do things in a way that shows that they care about the music, but they also prompt things to happen in my head, you know, and in my spirit. I like people to. It's all about the musicians you play with.
Exactly.
It's not, you know, a lot of guys they get great musicians, but they don't know how to put them together. They might have, you know, one or two guys, but you have some guy that's he just knows how to play the beat. It's like drummers. I get to talk to a lot of drummers. They think they're good because they can play some R&B. They think they swear they're good. Man, come on. I learned how to do that when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's bum bada bum 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 bum. It's so easy to play, but it's hard to get into doing polyrhythms. It's hard to think about the vocalist and the saxophone player and try to get him in the circle of rhythms. It's playing a beat is like, it's almost like it's exactly like casting a spell. But you got to be awful perceptive. You can't ignore everyone in the band, right, and try to play just your beat or try to impress people that you might think are in the audience with a couple licks. It's all about how do you put this all together.
Well, what we're going to do, we're going to show the audience how you two put it all together. We have a video clip, which I've been waiting to show. And this was one of Jazz on My Mind's first video videos that we performed, that we recorded when we first came here in 2009. Now I'm going to set this video up. This was done on the riverfront here in Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah, I really like that video.
And you guys asked us, come on out and video this for us, and we can, you know, so you can have this on video. So this is a performance of the Alfie Moss Dexter Koonce project. Now, with you performing on this particular clip is Charles Beasley on bass, who is probably one of the most outstanding bass players.
Yeah, he is crazy.
You, Dexter, are playing guitar as opposed to keyboards. You got Dwight McIntosh playing keyboards.
That's right.
We've got the great Rick Tate Jr., fine saxophonist on saxophone. We've got Bob Marley's old percussion. What's his name?
Ibis
Pitts, right. Yeah.
On percussion. And somebody who, when I mention his name, sends chills through my spine.
Yeah.
Will B. Fletcher Jr.
The
late Will B. Fletcher Jr. on drums. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, this might be one of his last performances. When I saw this video, this may be it. So, enough of the introduction. Let's show it to the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, Alfie Moss and Dexter Koonce project live at the riverfront, recorded in, I believe, August 2009 on Jazz on My Mind.
That's a bad video.
Just start the video. I edit it out. Don't worry, I'll edit that out.
There's fighting of you guys in a useless war. We've got to find a way today to bring some love here to stay. Oh, well, we'll find out. You know we don't need let's go today. For it's not answer for hate. You know we got to find a way to bring some love in today. 'Cause I know you feel like think it's so. Don't you push me with brutality. What we need, or maybe you can see what's going on, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. Everybody stays away for months. Oh, we'll take the judges simply because our hair is long and dread along. We got to find a way today to bring some love and love inside. It's life, it's so nice. Don't you rush me, build a bit of tension. Come on, walk with, talk with, baby, 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 see what's going on, 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 what's people going. There's far too many of you dying in a useless war. We get too far away to bring our troops, bring them up today. Let you realize it's alright. Don't you find me sweet? You've been to me. I'm gonna walk here, come with me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a big round of applause. Alfie Moss Dexter Koonce Project. I love that video, man. I love that video. Wilby Fletcher Jr.
Thank you.
on drums. Like I said, I think that may have been his last performance before his unfortunate passing a couple of months after that. But you guys, you recuperated from that. You recovered from that. And you've had somewhat, because when you lose someone of his talent and his caliber, it's hard to replace. But you've had several good drummers, and you guys are moving forward. You're doing your thing. Alfie, you just performed at the World Cafe Live here in Wilmington, Delaware. Talk about that.
Oh, at the Queen.
The Queen.
Well, first of all, this is our CD right here.
And we're going to give Bernard a chance to
Alfie Moss Dexter Koonce Project.
Let's hold it like that.
And that's on cdbaby.com.
All right.
And slash Alfie Moss. Here is the Melton Brothers Band, a band I performed with back in the 70s.
Wow.
79, 80, and our CD apparently is on the rebound. We had a promoter from a record company to reissue our CD about 2 months ago from Paris, France. Sydney, Australia is being traded in 6 of the countries around the world.
And that's you and the Melton Brothers.
Yeah, me and the Melton Brothers, of all people.
Where you first began. It's come full circle.
It really, really has. I thought my life would, be just jazz, pop, Caribbean, because I'm from Miami. Mm-hmm. And it was a great blend when I started working with Dexter. He knew how to do it. These cats, they were into like a lot of rock, know. They know how to do a little bit of it. We do a calypso thing. It's a different group. But we had a packed house on Saturday night because of all the people in our age bracket that used to hang out with us. They came out to support what we were doing. We're just looking for Tyrone. Looking for Tyrone. And Tyrone is in Maryland somewhere, but if you ever see him, anybody out there on Facebook, let him know we're looking for him so we can start the tour to Paris or to Finland, Australia, coming up, California. Mm-hmm. So we're working it out.
Well, you guys, I love you guys. You're doing a lot in the community. You're sponsoring a lot of things. Last year you did the Art Loop, where a lot of artists came together and you guys performed your
every
jazz.
Night.
Yeah, you guys are extremely busy. I don't know how you do it, but I'm thankful that you do, because the music like we just saw with the video, we need more of that happening.
Yes.
And if we're going to be right there with you guys every step of the way. Jazz on My Mind will be there, and whenever we can capture one of your performances.
Yes.
And there's a lot of them already on Jazz on My Mind.
Okay.
But when we can get some new ones of you guys, we'll be glad to be there. Now, Dexter, Alfie, we know she's been with the Melton Brothers. You performed with Gene Carn, Norman Connors, Tom Brown, a lot of great stars, man. That's got to be a wonderful thing for you in your career.
Well, it's a job.
Yeah.
we go back. Kim Waters. I mean, I got a bunch of people in my background that I have performed with. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of. The thing about it is, I'm thinking about all the great people that are. I have a friend named Hiram Brown. I had a friend named Hiram Brown who passed away. He was a great musician. Mm-hmm. And him, Kim Waters, and Anita Daly, they had a good band together. Every now and then we would do something. And I mean, I miss being able to collaborate with artists. So my thing is really about being able to get in a band and do something as instantly.
Right.
You know, get in the band and actually be able to produce. Hear the music, hear where they're trying to go with it, and put something there that's, you know, usable.
Yeah.
And, you know, inspiring. You see what I'm saying?
Well, it's going to be a lot of inspiration on October 29th.
What's that?
Here in Wilmington, Delaware,
okay.
Because that's going to be the night that they pay tribute.
That's right.
To
Boise.
Your uncle,
yeah.
Who taught not just you, but thousands of musicians.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Around the world. Everyone knows Boise Lowry.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm happy to say that. Well, I don't know if I'm happy, but I'm proud to say you're the only surviving relative.
Yeah.
You are the one who carries.
Or musician.
Yeah.
I have brothers and I have sisters and a brother who's in Philadelphia, New York.
But you're the only one who's still playing.
Right.
In the family.
Exactly.
And it's going to be a wonderful night on October 29th.
Yes.
When they get to pay tribute.
Yeah.
To me, it's long overdue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when I would interview people like Tony Smith, Gerald Chavis, Faustina Dixon, who was in the audience, when you interview anyone, Saeed Mbue, when you interview anyone, everyone says Boise Lowry.
Oh, yeah.
That man was a tremendous giant, and I wish I came to Delaware earlier to have a pleasure to meet him.
Well, that's how I got to play with all the people I got to play with. Most of them were introduced to me by Boise, like Odine Pope, you know, Charlie Bowen, you know, Marcus Belgrade. All of those people were introduced to me by my uncle, you know, and I would go play with my uncle and some of those guys, you know, like, you know, Max Roach, you know, hang out. Just got to hang out with a lot of people. I mean, I was associated with Alfie and I used to hang out with a guy that Boise introduced us to, Billy Davis. Mm-hmm. And we ended up meeting like Dakota Staten and hanging out.
And James Brown tried to. He actually hung out with
Art
us.
Blakey. Oh, James Brown did hang out with us.
That's my butt. Yeah.
He's an enormously funny guy.
Yeah, incredible.
I mean, we were doing a gig. We were at Word of Mouth.
In Augusta, Georgia, at one of his clubs, Word of Mouth.
Yeah.
He has a radio station there. He has a club there. And we got to meet him.
Yeah, wonderful guy.
He came up and just got on I was playing this song by Miles Davis. He comes up to the...
All blues.
Yeah. Walks up to the stage, right? At first, I was wondering if he was going to stop, but he just kept on coming to the stage, right? He's like, walked into the room. There's an entourage of about 60 people. They were apparently band members and whatever. And, man, all these people just crowded into the club. And then he walks up to the stage and sits down beside me and says, "Go get your guitar." James Brown, he knows how to play. How does he know how to play guitar?
Right.
You know, it's just, I guess Ann or Alf, somebody told him. I don't know. But anyway, he tries to figure out this song. And he has one problem with a chord. It's this E flat down to 7. It's part of the resolution going back to the beginning. And he says, "What's that chord?" He kept fumbling. I said, "It's the E flat." He said, "Is that all it is?" And he says, "Well, don't tell nobody that I, had that problem." He takes $200 out, pays me.
And there you go.
Yeah, and then Alfie's walking up. He said, "Oh, this is your wife." I said, "Yeah." It gives her too much.
He said I reminded him of Nina Simone.
That's Simone, beautiful. Yeah, he did.
Yes, he
we had a great time with that.
Yeah. Well, you guys, you're going to be doing a lot more. Yeah. Once again, Alfie, give your website to all of the Jazz on My Mind viewers.
Well, it's Alfie Moss /Dexter Koonce, and that's spelled Koonce, project.com, and we'll be at the Flash in Kennett Square in February for Jazz Bridges. It's all on the radio at RTI.
All right.
All right.
Well, I wish you guys the best. Can't wait to see you perform again. Keep your hands up. God bless you guys, and you know I love you too. You know that.
Yes.
Alfie, thank you.
Thank you.
Dexter, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Alfie Moss and Dexter Koonce right here on Jazz on My Mind. All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, we have a spectacular video performance from saxophone great Vince Lardear and his quartet. And we're also going to chat with radio personality Steve Leech from WVUD 91.3 FM. But first, I hope you got that pen and paper handy, because right now I'm going to tell you what's going to be happening this week in jazz on the East Coast. And here we go. Let's begin with tomorrow night, Thursday night. It's the Thursday Night Jazz Party. And it's happening each and every Thursday night at Basil Bar and Grill. Now, Basil's located at 422 Delaware Avenue in Wilmington, Delaware. Now, this week, the music will be presented by the fantastic group called G2. That's the Basil Thursday Night Jazz Party. The music begins at 8 p.m. and the night is hosted by yours truly. So be sure to join us tomorrow night, Thursday night at Basil, 422 Delaware Avenue, downtown Wilmington, Delaware. Also, as always, jazz at its finest at the Nomad Jazz Bar, located at 905 North Orange in Wilmington, Delaware. You can always reach the Nomad by calling area code 302, and that number is 655-8800. It's the hot new jazz spot on the East Coast, and it's all happening right here in Wilmington, Delaware, the jazz capital of the world. It's called Nomad. Once again, that phone number, 302-655-8800. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, on each and every Sunday, it's the world famous Jazz Brunch, and it happens at Warm Daddy's, located at 1400 Columbus Avenue in Philadelphia. Now, the food at Warm Daddy's is always delicious, and the music is out of sight at Warm Daddy's. You can call them at area code 215-462-2000. And if you want to hear some great straight-ahead jazz on the radio, you can do it with my friend Fane. Fane is on the radio every Monday morning at 2 a.m. until 5 a.m. Fane is on WPFW, which is 89.3 FM out of Washington, D.C. But you can check Fane out anywhere in the world by logging on to WPFW.org. And for some great jazz on a Monday night, well, you got to check out the Tony Williams Monday Night Jazz Jam. And that happens at the La Rose Social Club. Their address, 5531 Germantown Avenue in Philadelphia. The music begins every Monday night from 6 until 11 p.m. And don't forget, if you want to find out what's happening from Los Angeles to New York, all you have to do is log on to jazzonmymind.com. That takes care of this week's jazz events for the East Coast. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome a true man of jazz from radio station WVUD, which is 91.3 FM out of Wilmington, Delaware. Let's welcome radio personality Steve Leech to Jazz on My Mind. Steve, good to see you.
Thank you, Richard.
How's everything been since you were on the show last season? We had a chance to talk some jazz.
Yes.
How have you been since the last time we saw you?
I've been good.
Everything going great?
Fine, yeah.
So what's happening with jazz over at WVUD? Tell the audience about your show and when we can check you out on the air.
Well, I'm on every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
One that works. I'm on every Saturday morning from 6 to 10 a.m. On the first and second Saturday of the month, near the end of the show, from about 8 to 10, I play jazz. Often it's local jazz, both historic works and current works.
Okay.
And often have guests. I have this one spot on the second Saturday of the month, starting at 8 o'clock, something we call Clifford's Corner. And I'll have a guest on. You've been on.
I have indeed. Yes, I have.
Alfie's been on, and others. And we talk about the local jazz scene, and we play sides, and we talk. It's like we're meeting on the corner, and we just spin sides and whatever comes. Right. That's basically it. Yes.
Yeah, I have been on your show, and I got to tell you, it was an honor to be on your program with the great saxophonist Larry Williams and the former president of the Council of Jazz Advocates, Mr. Bob Fleming, and we had a marvelous time together.
Yeah, well, Larry is a regular. He's got a
Larry Williams.
Larry Williams. He's got a tremendous collection of 78s. We're probably the only radio program that will actually play 78s. And a lot of rare things are on those records. And we find a lot of interesting things to play.
Wow.
Things that haven't been heard in quite some time.
Now, Steve, where did you get your formal training? Because you're an excellent radio personality. When did you start in radio? How did that all happen for you?
Oh, that a long time ago. Actually, I got my start at a junior college in Dover called Wesley, and they had a small carrier current station there, and it was during Beatlemania, actually. So I got my start during that crazy period. And then when I went into the service, I did a different sort of radio. But when I came out, after a few years, I got involved at the radio station at the university. And it's basically a natural to me.
Now, not only are you a great radio personality, you also are a tremendous author. Haven't you written some situations as well?
Yeah, I've written a few things. I probably am most well known in Wilmington, having written for a couple of newspapers in the city, the Old Spectator, as well as the Star, Delaware Valley Star, and a couple of other publications in the city out and about, and things like that. And I've written a few things on my own that haven't been published. But basically, I find that literature and music go very well together.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
And I try to incorporate that a little bit into my program, which is called Bop Time, by the way. And I find it's quite a match.
Now, your radio program, I myself consider you somewhat of a jazz historian. And I say that because you have educated me and a lot of people, your listeners, on what jazz is all about. Now, when did you begin playing jazz?
Well, I played it on my own in the early 60s, just listening to it. My father had a few jazz records, and I started to play those. The ones that seem to stick out in my mind are Miles Davis and the Modern Jazz Quartet, Herbie Mann, people like that, some Lionel Hampton. Even had some big band and swing. So I actually began listening to jazz at home when I was in high school. And listened to it throughout. I've had a few friends who turned me on to certain artists. And as time went on, I began to like it and listen to more of it, along with all other kinds of music. I listened to rock and roll and rhythm and blues and pop music. It's as Duke Ellington once said, there's only one kind of music, and that's good music.
Now, on your radio show, Bop Time, that's where your emphasis totally on some of the old vintage jazz. Things like someone who you are very fond of, Lynn Winchester, tremendous vocalist.
Well, I think you're mixing him up with Daisy Winchester, who was a vocalist.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, she used to sing here in town. In fact, she sang with Dexter's uncle, Boise, who had a jazz band here in Wilmington called the Deuces of Rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And she sang with him just down the street here at the Old Baby Grand.
Yeah.
As well as a number of other venues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Daisy was quite a talent. In fact, I remember when I was on your show, you playing some of her music. Who were some of the other people that you enjoy playing on Bob Time?
Well, I'm finding that a lot of people are catching on to Lem Winchester, vibe
yeah, he was
player.
an excellent vibe, yes.
And he was a policeman here in the city of Wilmington, all during the time when he recorded.
Mm-hmm.
He only turned professional just before he died tragically.
Mm-hmm.
But he recorded with a veritable who's who of jazz artists, Benny Golson, Oliver Nelson,
Benny
Shirley
Golson.
Scott, and Etta Jones. One of the songs that Etta Jones had on the hit list was accompanied by Lem Winchester.
Wow, now that's amazing. Yeah. And that's why I call you a historian, because you can play a record. When you listen to Steve's program, not only does he play songs, he gives you the history. To me, that's what makes a radio personality.
Well, I can't isolate music from its context.
Exactly.
And on my program, not only do I play the music, but I try to give it some sort of sense of its surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
I will, mention what was playing at the movies or at certain clubs, or maybe a news item, and it sort of brings the music into a context. Sometimes it even triggers nostalgia in people.
Yeah.
I've had people call and say, "Wow, that really brought me back."
Yeah.
And it's those little things that trigger all those memories.
Yeah.
And it's not, of course, not only memories I'm concerned with, but the music itself and the history of the music, because so much of it is beginning to fade away. And if we don't keep it alive, it will fade away.
And that's why I know the area, the tri-state area, they have to be very happy that Bob Time is on the air, because there's not many venues where you can hear some good jazz anymore. You got our good friend Bob Perkins on the air. You got a few other small situations, but to be able to tune in to WVUD and listen to your radio show, it's got to keep these people happy. It's got to be a great thing, because it gives them something that they can hold on to.
Right.
And the music is what they're holding on to.
Right. I ought to mention that I'm not the only one at our radio station that plays jazz. Every weekday night, beginning at 9 o'clock, we have this program called Avenue C.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different host every night. It's a different kind of angle each time.
Mm-hmm.
It could be traditional jazz. It could be avant-garde. It could be smooth jazz, depending on the evening. And that's every evening from 9 to 11.
All right.
So there's jazz late night at WVUD. And I might also mention for our audience who have had problems getting WVUD in the past, we have just installed a power increase. So we are now heard all throughout Wilmington and all throughout northern Newcastle County and even into Kent County. So if you've had difficulty getting our station before, I guarantee you'll get it now. The frequency is 91.3 on your radio dial.
Now, before you go, let the audience know when they can catch you on Bob Time. When is your show on the air?
I'm on every Saturday morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Thank you.
And we can also listen to you via internet.
Yes, WVUD.org, just in case you can't hear us in the area or anywhere in the world. WVUD.org.
Now, we're going to hopefully get you back a little bit later in the season, before the season is over in December, and because there's a few other things concerning the history of jazz I want to chat about with you. Do you mind coming back at some point?
Not at all. I'm anxious to talk about, I believe you're talking about Mr. Sam Wooding.
That's right.
And yes, I'd like to come back and talk to him. I'm still finding things out about him as we speak.
Well, it'll be my pleasure to have you back, all right?
All right.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Leech, radio personality from WVUD 91.3 FM on your radio dial. Check him out. Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, is an out-of-sight performance from sax great Mr. Vince Lardear and his quartet. But first, I must tell you about this wonderful restaurant where we do our show each and every Wednesday. It's called the Paradise Palms, located at 901 North King in downtown Wilmington, Delaware. Now, I got to tell you about this wonderful restaurant because the food here is out of sight. It's so good because the head chef, Mr. Wendell, prepares every meal with the love of Jamaica. Dishes like jerk chicken, red beans and rice, baked fish, cabbage, all sorts of greens, and so much more. So the next time your taste buds say Caribbean, it's got to be the Paradise Palms. You can call them at area code 302, and the number is 377-2528. That number again, 302-377-2528. Once again, it's called the Paradise Palms. You can check them out on their website, which is paradisepalms.com. All right. Well, it's time now, ladies and gentlemen, to go into our video vault, and let's check out a tremendous performance from the Vince Lardear Quartet, recorded in September of 2009 by Jazz on My Mind. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this performance features Mr. Tom Palmer on drums, Bob Culligan on bass, Tony Maselli on vibes, and the man himself, Mr. Vince Lardear on sax. They're going to do a tune which was written by Edward C. Redding, and it was later sang by the late, great Frank Sinatra. The song is called The End of a Love Affair. Ladies and gentlemen, here they are, the Vince Lardear Quartet on Jazz on My Mind.
1, 2.
right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Mr. Vince Lardear and his quartet. Tom Palmer on drums, Bob Culligan on bass, Tony Maselli on vibes, and Vince Lardear on sax. That was recorded at another great spot for jazz here in Wilmington, Delaware, called Galluccio's. And you can see that again. It's on my website, jazzonmymind.com. Well, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to join us next week because we're going to have another fantastic live performance. With us next week is going to be saxophonist David Schiff and his group. They're going to be here performing live. We're also going to have a jazz chat with the members of the Council of Jazz Advocates, the Delaware chapter. We're going to be talking about the upcoming Boise Lowry tribute, which we've been talking about, you guys. Now, before we go, Linda, let's talk about your website. You didn't get a chance to put your website out there.
Yeah, the
What's
guys
your
will kill
website
me.
so people can follow you?
Well, the name of the band is the Jane Doe Experience, and our website is just that. It's www.janedoeexperience with two E's.
All right.
.com.
And Steve, let the audience know once again when they can catch you on WVUD.
Every Saturday morning from 6 to 10 a.m.
And they can log on via computer and hear you on
At 91.3 FM or WVUD.org, or on both at the same time if you like.
And Alfie Moss and Dexter Koonce, give your website information so that the fans can follow you guys.
Okay, so it's Alfie Moss on Facebook, and that's spelling ALFIEMOSS. And I also am at Alfie Moss /Dexter DEXTER Koonce KOONCE project.com.
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, also don't forget, for more jazz information and entertainment, log on to jazzonmymind.com and become a member as we do our part to keep jazz alive. You can also like us on Facebook. Right now, I'd like to thank our wonderful crew as always. Want to thank Shelyn Handy, our floor manager. Want to thank Bernard Parker, cameraman, and our director, the one and only Mr. Vincent Atkins. And I got to give props to our video director, my better half, Charlene. She's not with us tonight, but we want to give her props. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Alfie Moss, Dexter Koonce, Steve Leech, and also Linda Selena Smalls, I'm Richard Blackwell, and we want to thank everyone for watching Jazz on My Mind. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you.